welcome to our family. I want to say thank you. This is Coach Laurie. Thank you for tapping in. And we're going to have an exciting show. But if you've never been on this show before, at the You Going Pro show, we develop pros on and off the field so you can dominate and become the champion you were created to be. Hope you guys forgive my voice today. My voice is a little out, but I'm going to do the best that I can today. Stay locked in today because today we're going to talk about how the NIL and the transfer portal has transformed college baseball, also recruiting, and much, much more. So I want to make sure that you take notes today. With that being said, later on in the episode, we're going to be talking about the dangerous of not having a mind shift with today's baseball. You got to have a different mind shift. Back in the day, 20 years ago, the game has changed in many capacities. So I want to make sure you understand. We're going to go over that deep in the later part of the episode. So we'd like for you to understand what's going to be happening in today's baseball. That's college and baseball. With that being said today, my special guest today is someone has not been a stranger to baseball. He's been around for about 3 decades, and he could correct me, 3 decades. He may not look like it, but he's been around for 3 decades. He's a well-respected baseball coach, mentor, leader. He has spent years helping athletes get to the highest level, MLB, college baseball recruiting. He's also a player development. He helps with the mindset, help changing the landscape of today's baseball. With that being said, he's also part of the South Florida baseball community. It's Mike Silvestri, a longtime baseball scout. How you doing, Coach?
Coach, appreciate the intro and the kind words. Doing great. Thank you.
Well, I hope that you can hear me. I hope
I
that it
can.
sounds
Yeah,
out very
all
well,
good.
but I feel like a little shallow, but I want to get right into it. Before I go ahead and get into that, Mike, I got a quick question here. I want to start off something a little different because the name of my show is You Going Pro. And the reason for that, the name, I got that name. I believe God gave me that name because I was one of those guys that tried to go pro and got cut. And then I didn't know what to do after that because I thought pro was just playing sports, just playing MLB, uh, National League Basketball Association, hockey. Everybody think being a pro is just playing sports. So can you educate for the very first one, what is considered a pro to you
As an athlete or
in
just
general?
overall?
Overall, because a lot of guys not gonna make it, Mike.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, being a pro at anything in life is just getting to the pinnacle of whatever your path is. If your path is sports, then it's
Right.
sports. If your path is sports and then it gets cut short, which 99.9% of the players do, then it's being the best podcaster you could be, the best engineer, the best teacher, the best coach, whatever that may be, and trying to get to whatever realm that you're in, the highest levels, to
Right.
be able to impact those levels and impact others.
I like that because that's why I picked that name, You Going Pro, because people think when you think You Going Pro, they just think sports. Well, yeah, it is. It's part of it, but that's not everything because in baseball, the lifespan is 3 to 5 years, Major League Baseball, and they're in and they're out, and a lot of times we don't know what to do afterwards. That's why.
Mhm.
That's why I wanted to make sure I get it. But I'm gonna get right into it, Mike. So let's get straight to it. Let's talk about NIL. Has
Okay.
changed the game so much, Mike, in many aspects, which NIL has been around a long time, but it's become really legit here recently in the last 5 or 6 years. So how has it changed college baseball better and also worse, would you say?
So I'm around long enough, and you can see the gray and the glasses and everything to know when the old NIL was a brown paper bag full of money, and that nobody talked about, and now it's out in the front. How's it changed college baseball? I'll give you an example from 20 minutes ago.
Okay.
Talking to a college coach
Okay.
who from a non D1 program who's losing a player, blindsided that they're losing one of their better, if not their best player,
Okay.
and how that happened was uh, two agents reached out as they're allowed to do and told this particular player, hey, with your numbers, with your production, we can get you 50 grand, 100 grand, whatever the number may be, to a Division I baseball program. And he's like, just like that, we lost our player
Mm.
that they were not preparing for in the recruiting cycle of losing this type of players. So that's a very real example that happened literally less than 30 minutes ago before
Wow.
hopping on this podcast. Um, it's So you're seeing how that's impacting even the smaller colleges, because they're the ones that, if they take a chance on a player or they're recruiting a player that fits their level, that player develops, then the reality
Right.
is players, there's a good chance that player is going to leave, and maybe because other people have gotten to him and said, hey, look, you know, you can go over here for 100 grand and go play at a non P4 or mid major,
Right.
maybe even a Power Four, who knows,
Right.
get paid. You're seeing it talking to college coaches, like this is a really busy time for college baseball recruiting because of the NIL stuff, because of the transfer portal stuff. To hear college coaches at mid-major programs, telling me that, little Joey, the pitcher, comes in after a pretty good outing and says, hey, look, I'm not re-signing here next year unless I get another 25 grand. And these are programs a lot of times that don't have the SEC
Right.
or ACC football revenue. Well, they don't have a lot to give, but they're being held hostage. But then you turn around and you see the flip side of it. If you're being led down a road, and look, a lot of times if someone's trying to entice you to go from point A to point B, what's their motivation? Is there money involved on their end? Usually there's going to be some sort of fee, right, that they're going to be able to make. I got a call 2 days ago, and these are all very relevant, real situations that happen. I'm here in Arizona right now in Scottsdale,
Okay.
covering some complex league stuff, and get a call from longtime storied Division I coach, runs a transfer portal showcase right now, and he's like, "Hey, do you know so and so?" And I said, "I do. I don't know him in person, but I know his story."
Right.
And I said, "Why is he in the portal?" And he goes, "Yeah." I go, "You saw that coming. It was a player who went from one school to a bigger school for 100 grand or so, promises
Right.
of doing this, and this." In my mind, when that happened, there was no way that particular player fit the athletic demands of that particular conference and school, and it just didn't work. So he left a very good situation to go where they thought the grass was greener for a quick buck and the opportunity to maybe play in front of a bigger crowd and a bigger conference and all that type of stuff, and travel, first
Right.
class in the airplane and all that type of stuff, to now he's back after a wasted non-athletic year, looking for another home.
Wow.
And is probably going to wind up back at a similar school that he left, where he was a featured guy. So, yeah, the NIL stuff is real, and it's not always working out. For every Cam Ward story in football that's out there, there's the story of the guy going somewhere, and it just doesn't work out immediately because they went to a level that they really shouldn't be at, whether that's
Correct.
a misevaluation on the school's part that recruited them, whether it's a misguided part on the player and whoever was advising that player, and then that process starts all over again. And the reality is this: I mean, there's close to 6,000 players in the portal last year,
That's right.
in baseball,
Right.
with a significant portion of greater than half that essentially retired because
Correct.
they did not find a new home. So I think, like anything in life, when you're searching for the greener grass, you better know what you're getting yourself into, and you better be getting good advice.
Hey, this is episode 145. The very first question. Mike has already hit a grand slam. Bases loaded. Yeah, one pitch, he knocked it out. This is Mike Silvestri. Hey, Mike, I just want to say thank you for what you just said. The reason I said that because you are episode 145. So I've been doing
It's a
this
lot
for
of
a little bit,
episodes.
for a little while, and I'm not a pro yet, but I'm working on being a pro. So what I'm saying is this: you talked about fit. That's something that these players and parents need to understand. Just because you get the money, I'm gonna repeat that. Just because you get the money doesn't mean that the money is good. I'm gonna give you a backdraft about that. Back when me and you went to school, yes, I'm a little older. I thought it was like we're going to school. Yeah, we're gonna play baseball, play basketball, whatever. But education was the first thing because at the end of the day, I'm a story. I tore my rotator cuff up, Mike. I had a car wreck. Who plans car wrecks? Who plans it? Who plans getting hurt? No athlete plans that. But what happened was I had to sit out a whole year. Lost my scholarship. I lost it my senior year. But I said that to say this. My grandmother and grandfather always told me something. Whatever you put in your head, no one can take that away from you. So if you put the books in your head, if you study right, I'm not saying that uh, don't chase your dreams, but you always got to be smart. You got to be thinking 2 steps ahead, because this is a situation that now you've transferred to 3 different schools. Now, do you think all those credits are going to transfer? No. I mean, I'm a prime example because I transferred, but I didn't have the knowledge that I have now. I tell guys, just because the grass looks green doesn't mean it is real grass. It could be artificial turf. So I wanted to kind of talk about that situation based on what you said, because you've been in the game for 30 years, a lot longer than I have. But you've been in the game, you understand the pros and the cons. Because a lot of think at times I think that they're miseducated. They're trying to chase the money and let it instead of chase the dream. Because if you chase the dream with an education, you win at the top. What do you say about that, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, look, my wife's a doctor, brother's an attorney. I'm just the baseball guy here. So, but education is it should always be at the forefront of a consideration. You don't know what the future holds. You just brought up the idea of getting into a car accident. You couldn't have predicted that or foresaw that, or whatever injury may take place. Look, you tore a rotator cuff 30 years ago, 20 years ago. They still haven't figured out the rotator cuff yet. They figured out the elbow,
Right.
but they haven't figured out. Like, you get a shoulder injury, that's a problem by today's standards.
Yes, it is.
For whatever reason. Elbow, not so much. Knee injury, catastrophic in the 80s, you're done.
Right.
Today, they can repair that. So,
Yeah.
So I think all that matters. And when we talk, look, in my recruiting business, we have a recruiting consulting business, Florida Diamond Recruiting Services, and obviously I'm still involved in professional baseball. I'll say this. I tell parents this all the time. First off, pro baseball doesn't miss. If you're supposed to play pro baseball, you're going to play pro baseball. Whether you get to the big leagues or not is a different
Right.
story.
Right.
But pro baseball doesn't miss. There's and really never has. Even though there's less opportunities today, the draft's only 20 rounds. It may shorten up. It probably will. With the next CBA, there is no more short season baseball. You may see a contraction of one A-ball league. Who knows? But still don't miss. If you're supposed to play, you're going to play.
Right.
Whether that's indie ball, whether that's organized baseball with an affiliated team. So when you're talking about the college side of things, and you're talking about fit and everything, the first thing that has to happen is find out where you can impact a roster as a freshman. Or if you're a transfer,
Right.
the moment you walk on campus today is different than
It
3
was.
years ago.
Right.
Before, and we've had this happen to some of our guys, and because the rules changed while they were committed. But we had a pitching commit to a mid-major, and the rule came out August 1st about the 34-man roster rule, and I knew immediately they were gonna pull that offer, and understandable. He was a developmental guy, where they could wait and maybe throw him 10 innings and bring him along slowly. Well, now, if you're held to 34, when I say 34, it's really not 34. That's what parents sometimes don't understand. It's really more like 42, 43, 44, because there's a rule called the designated student athlete that's involved that's basically granting the 25 class.
Okay.
Those guys are roster exemptions for the remainder part of their career. And think about this. If a 5-year rule goes into plan for college
Okay.
baseball, right?
Okay.
And it's, from what I understand, it's a
coming,
rubber
right?
stamp away, right?
Right.
So if I'm a freshman at a Division I school and I'm not playing very much, and I'm going to go in the portal and transfer, or I'm going to stay, whatever I'm going to do, even though I technically burned my redshirt year because I had one at bat or I pitched 1 inning, that's a burning your redshirt year. Face one batter, one official AB, you burn your redshirt year, you're more than likely going to get that year back because you're going to have an additional 4. So holy smokes, what does that do? That further limits that, because those guys don't count against rosters for the rest of their careers. That's coming out of the courts.
Correct.
So now you have that player who's a 25 grad, first year was 26 playing in the spring, who still is going to have 4 more years left after this and never count against a roster. So that 34-man roster really is a little bit more because you're always going to have, depending upon the school or program, some designated student athletes that don't count against your roster. So what is the job that families need to understand is it's very simple. Where can you go and get on the field and help a coach win immediately?
Correct.
Not your sophomore year, not your junior year. Because if you can't do that, it's the wrong level.
Right.
And you need to be looking to a different level. You don't choose the level chooses you. But if you choose the level yourself, usually a lot of times it's going to be wrong if you're being misguided.
Right. Right.
Another article came out today on Twitter from
Okay.
a very famous sports writer talking about the resurgence of Kansas University baseball, and how the reliance on junior college transfers.
Yes.
Why?
Yes.
Because those guys come into the impact roster immediately.
Immediately.
So when you talk to families and you try to educate them, it's where can little Joey or little Johnny, I always kind of refer to the players as little Joeys or little Johnnies, where can they impact a school immediately? If it's junior college, it's junior college, which is going to get harder, right? Because everything trickles down. If it's Division I, it's Division I. If it's D2, it's D2. So that's the magical question and that's really where people need really good guidance. My phone is being flooded as we speak with people texting me, I don't know who they are, filling out contact information forms, all in bad situations, looking to transfer. You're hearing stories, Coach, coming out of some NAIA programs where I've heard stories this year of not just sharing lockers, sharing uniforms.
What?
Have you ever heard of that?
No.
I heard of it this year.
No.
I heard this year, I had a player call me at an NAIA school and say, I transferred here, I'm sharing a uniform with 3 other players.
Wow.
Like that's because, again, sometimes at these smaller schools, what funds the school is the athletic department. If you don't have University of Miami football revenue coming in, right, the billions of dollars that are coming in, if you don't have that, then a lot of these smaller institutions, they use athletics as a financial arm of the institution. So all of a sudden you're starting to see rosters at some of these smaller schools, because they have developmental teams and their regular teams, in the 80s to 90s to mid 90s. 95 players in the fall is not uncommon. If you walk into that situation and don't know that, you're in a bad spot. I've getting a call from a catcher at an organization, an NAIA program, freshman, and he's like, there's 12 catchers here.
Wow.
And I was like, I don't know that major league organizations in the minor leagues have 12 catchers.
12 catchers?
12. Like, how do you rise to the top to play? So the first question I asked him was, I'm like, are you on a student loan? Yes. I said, you're on a Pell Grant student loan, so you're already in the hole financially, and you're one of 12 catchers on a developmental team. If you stay there, you're creating a real burden for yourself financially when you come out. Why did you go there? I didn't know what else to do. And that's where, if you're getting proper advice, whether it's us or somebody else who knows what they're doing, you can avoid situations like that.
Yeah.
I'm not faulting the schools for doing that. They got to do what they got to do to keep the lights on, I guess. But we're not going to put our guys in those situations because we're going to properly vet that situation out to avoid scenarios. Let's go somewhere else where you can get on the field, produce, start working towards your. In this particular case, this player that was one of 12 catchers, he couldn't even get there till the spring because he couldn't afford to be there in the fall. So he's got a student loan. So he's already a semester behind academically because he couldn't enroll full time. He had to go part time in the fall somewhere, full time in the spring. Student loan, one of 12 catchers, developmental team, burned a year of eligibility.
That's a mess.
And it's not uncommon. So this is where, in this landscape today with the 34-man roster limit, the DSAs that are going to not, think about it, it's 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. That's not going to be over till 2030, the designated student athlete. So 2031 is going to be the first year where the 34-man roster is going to be the 34-man roster. That's it. We have all the way till 2031 for that to actually happen.
That's 5 years, Mike.
It's 5 years. So again, you're a high school player trying to infiltrate this system. And I use a line all the time. I did a video call this morning with a prospective client. I did another one yesterday. I'll do another one on Friday. I'll do another one tomorrow night. One of the lines I use, and it's not a line, it's a statement, is it's the greatest time to be a college athlete because of the portability. You can go where you want without any transfer rules, right? When you played back in the day, you had a one-time transfer exemption. They could block where you could go.
That's right.
You can't transfer. They can't do any of that anymore, right? The playing field has been completely leveled by the courts.
Yes.
So it's the greatest time to be a college student athlete. It's the worst time to be a high school student athlete because it's so hard to get
Hard,
into the
get in.
fraternity or the sorority, right? If you're playing softball, the sorority. So that's where getting to the proper level, being properly evaluated, maybe erring on the side of caution a little bit. You know, if I've got little Joey telling me my dreams to play at LSU, okay, it's a lot of kids' dreams. And me have to tell him, you have no chance to play at LSU
Right.
coming out of high school. You got some ability, maybe 2-3 years down the road you do, go to a mid-major. You go there, I can't look into the crystal ball beyond 2 years. I can look into the crystal ball for the first 2 years.
Right.
Go to that mid-major, produce. You may fall in love with that place. You may meet the
Right.
girl of your dreams. You may want to stay there all 4 years.
Right.
Or you may, ball out, produce, and decide you want to test the waters of the transfer portal, and maybe you get paid and you get to go down to LSU or something. That's great. But the key component is go where you can compete immediately, not where you're looking, it's coaching. If you follow like what goes on in Jupiter every year in October, right? The big tournament in Jupiter, arguably the best one in the country, right? Everybody and their grandmother's there coach-wise. Like our seniors who are not committed, it's almost mandated they got to be on a team there because it just helps to get eyes on them at that point late in the process.
Yes.
All of a sudden, what do you see coming out of Jupiter? Kids that are supposed to sign in November are reopening their commitment. Well, they're not reopening their commitment. The schools came and saw them play and said, we just got a better player in the transfer portal.
Right.
We don't have a spot for him. Hey, big guy, we're not going to. We can't honor the offer. It's just someone's fault. It's just how the business is set up. Doesn't make those coaches bad guys, but what it does do is, who told you to go there in the first place? That's my question.
Right.
Like, why did you set yourself up for that? And
Right.
now you're reopening your recruitment in October of your senior year.
Mm.
Realistically, you have a very difficult chance of getting to a Division I program at that point because they're full.
Right.
So maybe if you went to the right Division I program or a
Correct.
JUCO or a D2, you're not in that situation come October of your senior year.
Wow. That's a whole lot. You just, Michael, you
I
just.
can talk a lot. I apologize,
Mike,
but
it's
there's a lot
okay.
of information out there.
I'm not upset. I'm listening to, I have a different mindset. I'm like a player now. I'm listening to you because we've already played our game. We're at a different level of our game now. And just listening to you, just listening, just a little bit, based on the stuff that I already know and the stuff I can tell kids, plus extra stuff. This is like Google overload, like right now. So I'm sitting here thinking, okay, it's the next question. It's not even part of my my questions, but when you were talking, I got another situation. So just to throw this a question for you. So just say, I'm in South Florida, hot place, a lot of talent. A lot of kids here believe they can go D1. Okay, just say they're not ready. The key word, they're not ready. Do you oppose, because we got this 5 years left, 2030, I heard what you said, 2030, we got 5 years. So what do you think about that's the senior year you graduate, the next year you just go to a prep school. You just go to prep school. Yeah, just call it a gap year, because a lot of times kids don't like that word. They think it's like a virus or something. And I think sometimes, based on what you said and based on what I know, sometimes you're underdeveloped. You're just not there yet. Yeah, you may be a mid-major or a low D1 or a high D2, a D2 school. But a lot of times they're getting pressure. I think you said the key word. They put themselves in pressure situations. It's like self-inflicting. So I'm asking you, what do you think about that gap year or prep school?
So I think it's interesting because I just saw where there was a basketball, there's some of those big prep basketball programs kind of in the mid-Atlantic in Virginia,
Yes.
like Oak Hill,
Yes.
and there's legendary ones for years.
Yes.
And a school just announced they're closing their basketball program because they don't believe that the gap year is going to be doable anymore.
What?
Because of the fifth year rule coming. I thought that was an interesting take on it. I would say much differently, at least from a baseball standpoint. I can't comment on basketball, but from a baseball standpoint, if I'm not physically ready to go compete, I'm a young senior. I graduated high school at 17. That's not the norm today. Most kids are graduating at 19, but there's still those outliers that graduate at 17. That's a big difference developmentally, physically, right? Forget the mental side, but the physical side. So I do believe there's, in the right scenarios, there makes a lot of sense, even with this 5-year rule coming up, because if I do take the gap year,
Okay.
it's still going to count as one of my 5, right?
Okay.
It does. That's
So that's
the
4 years.
difference.
So we got 4 left.
But I still got 4 left when I'm physically ready to have 4 left and be productive, at whatever level that may be, whether it's the JUCO level or D2 or NEI or whatever it may be. So I would still say, yeah, it still comes into play, even though you're burning a year. So what if you were to go to a smaller college and be on their developmental team? What's the difference?
Right,
You're still
right.
burning one of your 5.
Right,
And
right,
the reality is, maybe, and I'm not saying always, but maybe that program that's offering a gap year type program or a post-grad program, maybe because it's a smaller situation, it's a better developmental situation, than going to a developmental program. I'm not always saying that's the case, but I would say, yeah, there's still plenty of value in doing that.
Okay.
We will have one of our guys doing that this year, graduated young, not ready, didn't have a really good body of work, right? You gotta have a body of work. Didn't really have a body of work at the high school level, and for a number of different reasons. So go continue to develop physically, figure out, are you a position player or a pitcher? I have my thoughts on that. Anytime someone's left-handed, I'm gonna lean towards pitching because you're a unicorn. And then be ready to go somewhere where now you can walk on campus, even if it's at a JUCO. So you're a second-year player, but you still got 4. You play your 2 at the JUCO and then go play, but you're giving yourself a chance.
Right.
So I do think that there's value in that.
Okay. I just wanted to ask that question because I was thinking about it as you were talking. I'm like, man, the gap year is good if, because like you said, if you play that freshman year and you're on the developmental team, it's the same thing. Basically, it's pretty much. But the only difference is, which I believe, if the gap year you're at a prep school, just say you're at a preparatory school and you're taking some classes, and also, but you're training hard, and you are basically trying to master the craft to get to that next level. Instead of going and playing developmental, okay, yeah, you're playing developmental, but it's more of an individual because now it's me. I'm working on me because I'm developing me more than the team. That's just how I look at it. That's just my
Yeah, I
train of
agree.
thought. That's how I'm looking at it. With that being said, before I go to a sponsor break, Mike, you talked a little bit about high schoolers. My question to you is how much has the transfer portal affected high schoolers to get recruited today? I mean, because we kind of bounced around a little bit in the beginning, but how much has it really affected the high school players for 26, 27, and 28, the transfer portal?
Tremendously. I mean, to just give you a quote from the horse's mouth from a Division I school, and basically they, longtime friends, 30 years, we all grew up in the game together, and they're like, hey, if we got 3 guys out on the road, just a Division I school, we got 3
Correct.
guys out on the road in the summer, 2 are going to be in college summer leagues looking for transfer portal players, 1 is going to be at the high school tournament. We still have representation, but it's 2/3 less.
Right.
So it's you saw it last summer where I don't think there was a great representation from a college standpoint, from a volume standpoint at these summer tournaments, whether it's a prospect select tournament, perfect
Oh, yeah.
Game tournament, PBR
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
There's still guys there, but it's significantly less. Because where are the rest of their staff, or where are they at? They're in the Valley League. They're at the SFCBL. They're at the Gulfstream Collegiate Baseball League. They're in the Cape. They're looking for college transfers for impact players that can provide immediate type
Yes.
of help,
Yes.
right? Where did you see more of the college coach come along? In the fall. Why?
Yeah.
The transfer portal was closed. So now they go in the fall. So
Right.
it has affected it greatly.
Okay. I like what you said. I just want to make sure we throw that out there because a lot of guys that are listening to the show, they DM me or they call me, they know me, they say, Coach, what about the high school players? And I'm like, I wanted to ask you because you're a recruiter, that's your niche, that's your market. I want to throw that in there. But I want to say thank you for that information. I'm gonna go ahead. We have a sponsor. Today's sponsor is brought to you by YGB Publisher, a publisher that proudly sponsors my brand new book. It's called Are You Really D1? This book will challenge athletes to stop talking about the next level and start preparing for the next level. If you want to get a copy, go to www.ru, the letter D, the number 1.com. Again, it's rud1.com and get your copy now while supplies last. Here it is. Here's a good
Nice.
quick picture. But I just want to go ahead and throw that out there. But, you've been very thorough with the information because a lot of times people do Google searches, they do YouTube, they do all this stuff, and they're getting misinformation. They're not getting all the information. And that's one reason why I was so adamant about getting you on here, because I checked you out and someone referred me to you. You got to have Mike on there. Mike is the man. And Mike, you giving it up. You're like a butcher.
Appreciate it.
You're a butcher. You're chopping the meat up. So being honest, with the high school players today, we understand that their mentality is totally different compared to when we were kids. And I'm not, there's no disrespect for the people that are listening. It's just that I think that our upbringing was different. We didn't have as many distractions. We didn't have these things here. we didn't have that. So we had a little bit more tunnel vision. So for the high school players, do you think mental prepper, what can they do mentally to prepare their game for college baseball?
I think from a mental standpoint, you're starting to see more mental skills coaches out there, right? From even on an amateur side, we have one of them on our staff who will refer players to that we think need some maybe some fine tuning there. What was once a taboo type of thing is now very much in tune. And I mean, the minor leagues have mental skills coaches, the big leagues, and I think from an amateur standpoint, yeah, there's good guys out there that maybe have been through it, understand. From a baseball standpoint, put yourself in a situation where you're a South Florida kid. Maybe your opportunity comes in the form of going to a very cold climate in the Mid-Atlantic or the
Yes.
Midwest, and
Yes.
but and we have this discussion all the time when we're considering onboarding. We don't onboard everybody that comes through us. Because at the end of the day, we have to be confident that we can place the player when we get that player and that family on board. And if the expectations aren't matching or similar at least, then it's not a good fit. It's nobody's fault. It's just if little Joey's telling me he's going to go play in the SEC, and I think that he needs to go play Division III junior college in the Northeast, there's a problem there. We're not seeing the same doesn't mean I'm right and he's wrong, but it means we're not going to work together, is what that means.
Mm-hmm.
But my point to all that from the mental side is we ask all the time, like, are you prepared to maybe go spend 2 years of your life at a junior college in the Midwest or Mid-Atlantic where it's going to be cold? No one's asking you to move there for the rest of your life. You may fall. Again, you may meet the
Right.
girl of your dreams and decide to stay
That's
there.
right.
Who knows?
That's
I
right.
don't know.
That's right. That's right.
But are you prepared to do that from a mental side? It's going to be tough, physically, mentally. The skies are gray. You're not used to that. You're from South Florida. You're used to going to the beach and seeing the sunshine. But are we looking for short-term solutions to long-term answers?
That's right.
Or are we looking for a long-term solution to a long-term answer? And maybe that 1 to 2 years of being in Maryland or being in the Midwest is the best for you to get from point A to point B.
Mm.
And if that means assessing that and becoming more mentally tough and maybe having a mental skills person involved in your process to learn it's not going to be easy going away from home, to an environment you're not comfortable with. You're talking to a former junior college head coach. The perks of luxury bus rides and plane rides and someone washing uniforms, that's not there. You're doing that all yourself, but you're also learning how to grow up. Can you handle those things?
That's right.
And those are things that some players can do. And look, we've had guys who tell us, I can't do that. Okay, then maybe you're not for us, because
Right.
maybe that's where your level of your skill set fits right now. Type
Right,
of thing.
right. I'm glad you said that, Mike, because you brought up a very valid point. Because here in South Florida, a lot of guys, they're just stuck on Florida, and there's nothing wrong with that. But they say that they really love it. They want to play, but you're not. If you love something, you're willing to do things you're not willing to do to get to where you need to go. That's I'm paraphrasing it. I said that because I was one of those kids. I come from Chicago, right? And then I wound up going all the way to Kansas. in the corn-fed. I didn't know anybody in corn-fed. And so I wound up going to Coffeyville Community College, which is a
Yeah,
football
yeah.
a
Yeah, it
football
is.
school, a
Yeah, it
football
is.
school, and I didn't know anybody. But I was willing to do whatever it takes. I mean, ride on the bus for the first time, get on the airplane for the first time, and I said that because it was a blessing in disguise. Going back to what you said, it was a blessing, Mike. Mike, it was a blessing because it made me grow up. I couldn't call my mom. Everything that she taught me, how to wash clothes, how to take care of yourself, how to cook, I already knew how to do that, but it wasn't in action. And so it made me grow up faster. And there's another kid that I'm going to talk about. I coached him here in South Florida, All American. Did a great job. Small guy, kid. I recruited him. I have been with this kid since he's been in 8th grade. Now he's playing up at what do you call it? Fair Dickinson. Um,
Oh, in New Jersey?
it's in New Jersey. Fair
Yeah.
Dickinson, lower D1. And I
I'm
don't
actually
mind.
from that hometown. It's a team
And
that
I'm
New
not
Jersey.
ashamed to
Yeah.
say his name. His name is Jonathan Gomez. We call him Johnny G. He's out there kicking butt. He's a Florida guy, kicking butt. Made All American. He's a sophomore now. Did great. I mean, he's doing all kinds of things. I'm just sharing that example how he wanted it that bad. He wanted it. Not just Coach Laurie wanted it. He wanted it. And it just goes to show sometimes you got to do things to get uncomfortable so you can be comfortable because you never know until you go.
Yeah,
So,
without a doubt. You know, familiar with Fairleigh Dickinson. Like I said, I was born there, so I know the area very well. Um, you know, kind of a young staff over there, and they're trying to recruit some Southern kids, and as why wouldn't you? But those kids got to be willing to go up there and experience that. Look, I think Nick Saban says it all the time when you hear him talk. If it was easy, everybody would do it.
that's right.
If it was easy to be great, everybody would do it. It's not easy.
No.
So are you willing to, you know, we've had success stories where, are you willing to bet on yourself? You're willing to go to
Correct.
Arkansas and JUCO in Arkansas from Florida, maybe go as a walk-on because you're getting academic money over baseball money.
That's right.
Bet on yourself. You know, and we're actually going to have him on our podcast in a couple weeks because he'll be going to pitch in the Valley where he did that. And here's a kid who not one Division I or II school knew he existed in high school. South Florida kid, just physically wasn't ready.
Right.
But he had confidence. He bet on himself. He developed, and he goes to JUCO, comes back into the state of Florida to go to the JUCO. He went to JUCO in Arkansas, comes back to Florida, and winds up being like top 10 in the country in 3 or 4 different categories as a reliever, and had 4 out-of-state Division I offers and 3 in-state D2 offers. Eventually chose the D2 in-state. It felt like a better fit for him, but it's a kid who, what did he do? He bet on himself. You
Man,
know, he
love it.
because he loves to play. But you kind of knew that about him because I coached his dad, and his dad was the same way. So
I love it.
Yeah, so we got father and son. So
Son.
shows you how old I am. But yeah, it's you know, can you be mentally tough enough to go to the middle of nowhere, Arkansas, play to get from point A to, he went from point A to point B to eventually point C, and point C
Wow.
was where he wanted to wind up, but he
Wow.
went the route to get there because he loved
Wow.
the game and he put the work in, and he did what he was supposed to do academically and athletically.
Man, that's a blessing, Mike. That's a real blessing. I mean, that's like walking by faith. You know, you got to have faith in yourself. Well, I'm walking by faith. I don't see it, but I believe it. It's at the end of this. I'm gonna keep walking. You know. Now let's talk reality, Mike. Are coaches recruiting athletes now, or they're recruiting ready-made players from the portal? What would you say?
I think if you're going portal, you're going for immediate help. So
Okay.
you're recruiting someone who can step into your lineup and impact that lineup immediately. Why wouldn't you, right? Speaking to a coach again this morning, and again, these aren't made up stories. This is kind of my day. It's the way things are going at this point. The portal hasn't even officially opened, right? June 1st
Right.
is the opening day, but kids are in. And you know, hearing a coach say, look, we have a need for this part of our lineup in this particular position. One of your guys fits the exact mold. It's kind of plug and play.
Mm.
Point taken. You know, just like when we have kids approach us that want to go into the transfer portal, and one of them, you know, I remember saying back a year ago, I can't take you as a client. Like, you have to produce. Like, you know, pressure makes diamonds. So produce. Deal with the pressure, produce. Once you produce, if you want to call me because we use a term in scouting, bridges to projection. Like if we look at a high school player, internationally we look at them, very young, 13, 14 years old, and we're looking like, how do we think that, Alcantara is going to be the guy that he is? Well, we're looking at the hands, we're looking at the feet, the arm speed, the athleticism, all that type of stuff. Those are bridges to projection to see here's where he is today, here's where we can see him 8 or 9 years down the road. The difference in the transfer portal is there are no bridges to projection. The bridges are statistically based. If you're a guy striking out 40% at the D2 level, that's going to only do what? Get worse at the D1 level, right? So, there's more of a hard line. Let's look at the production. Let's look at the level of play in the conference they're in, and then we can use that, I guess, as our bridge. But it's really more production based.
Right.
So if you're, the college coaches that are looking for players in the portal, they're filling specific needs. Whether it's a left-handed reliever, whether it's a right-handed bat, whatever it may be. I need a backup catcher. I need a starting catcher. If little Joey's at a Division II and he's really producing, and the strikeout percentage, which is a big indicator for me, is reasonable. You don't want to be over 20%. It's reasonable at 22%. It's reasonable. Then that's going to probably have a way of looking at it and saying that conference kind of translates to my conference at the mid-major level, and that guy, I can expect him to come in and hit 320 with 10, and that's doable for us. That's what we kind of need, that type of thing.
I like that. It makes a lot of sense based on what you just said, because I personally think that you have to be mentally sound to get prepared for each level. Because like you just said, if you're striking out 20 times, let's use that number, 20% of the time at the NAI level, and you say, I believe I can play D1. Well, okay, it's possible, but what type of level is the conference you're playing in? Let's just talk about that. Because a lot of times, even in high school, because at high school there's different levels. There's levels. And I realize that as a coach, been coaching for 11 years in South Florida, and also played college baseball, so at the JUCO level and at the NIL level. And so I understand levels, and a lot of kids don't get that, Mike. They don't get it. They think that, well, hey, I can hit such and such, such and such. I say, well, listen, you're striking out, Mike. You're striking out 50% of the time. That ain't happening. Coach, you're being a dream hater. No, I'm being a reality. So, which leads me to this next question. How dangerous is the mindset of consistently transferred when adversity hits? Because a lot of times we know most cases they transfer because of adversity. Now, there's going to be adversity because we play in a sport. You're going to fail more than half of the time. So how dangerous is the mindset, consistently transferring when adversity hits? Because a lot of guys do that all the time. We talked about that the first question of the show.
Yeah, it's extremely dangerous, but it's a byproduct of the system, right? You're in travel baseball, and Coach Smith is playing you at a position in your mind or your parents' mind, and you go to the next team, and then you go to the next team, because it's nobody's fault, but it's not your own fault. It's someone else's fault, and you're allowed to bounce around to different. So the mindset starts at a young age of travel baseball. I had a very successful longtime high school coach, who's actually a college coach now, have me come and speak to his players before the postseason. This was like 7-8 years ago at a really predominantly powerhouse school. They just won another state title this year, South Florida team, and he's like, Mike, can you address the idea that these guys need to understand they're so used to playing in this travel ball realm where if you don't win this world championship, don't worry about it, because in 2 weeks there's another world championship we're registered to play in. There's multiple world championships you can get a ring for.
Correct.
And trying to instill in them, like, if you don't get out of your district, season's over. If you don't get out of your region, season's over. Like, there's a sense of urgency here. But I think the mindset of being able to move from one place to the next, look, it starts in travel baseball at a young age. It's now allowable and permissible in high school baseball, right? You can go wherever you want. You can go, right? Chaminade had a quarterback transfer mid-season to mid-season 2 years ago. Oh, mid-season, you're allowed to do that now. He transferred mid-season, playing for a Miami-Dade County high school, transferred mid-season, suited up, played a big rival, beat him, torched him. He was a big Division I commit, torched him for like 350, and that's allowed now. So,
wow.
So what example is being said is, how do you discipline a player? So now you get to the college level, and you're right. Are you like, we're not taking a transfer portal guy for us unless he's transferring because he's trying to play up, or maybe it's a geographic thing. I want to stay in the same level if possible, but maybe just get a little closer to home.
Right.
But you got to produce. Like, there's got to be numbers to solidify. We're not taking that disgruntled player who, I didn't get my opportunities. No, we're not. I don't want to get involved. It's too hard. So we can't get involved in that. But that is, like, I talk to guys my age that are Division I coaches all the time, and you're like, how do you discipline a guy today?
Right.
Because if you
Yeah.
do, he just leaves. And they're like, that's part of the issue.
Wow.
Is they have that portability to do whatever they want to do, and go to multiple different places that, eventually maybe fit what they're looking for. So there's no accountability on the player's part at that point.
So basically, I think we're developing monsters.
We're
monsters.
developing entitlement, right?
Yes.
Yes. Without question, we're developing entitlement. And look, this is a privilege to play any sport. I don't care if it's volleyball, baseball, softball, basketball, whatever, football.
Correct.
It's a privilege to play any sport. It's not your rite of passage. Just like when I'm out working on the professional baseball side, which I still do, and I've been doing it for 25 years. I watch a player play. It's not, it's a business. Like, we're going to sign you, and then we're going to find somebody else that's, your position, and try to sign the better. We're always trying to upgrade. So it's not a rite of passage to become a professional player. It's not a rite of passage to become a college player. It is still a privilege. And with that comes responsibilities. But because of the legislation and the rules today, like we talked about, it's the greatest time to be a college athlete. Why? You can do whatever you want to do. You don't like the way coach is talking to you, you can leave if that's how you want to live your life. The problem is going to be, let's see where this all leads 10 years down the road when these guys are adults.
Correct.
These women are adults, and now their boss just told them, you know what?
That's right.
That project that you just did stinks.
That's
Like,
right.
That's terrible, and I'm not going to give you the participation trophy today. And you're fired. Like, how do you handle that?
I love
Because
it.
in the past, if someone told you, well, I'm just going to go to the next job. Well, it doesn't work that way in the business world, right? Because these are people's livelihoods. So you better be productive. And, talking to people in, like the law industry, and, having the young woman come in with her presentation, and they're looking at it like, this doesn't even make sense. Like, this is terrible. And the girl breaking down, saying, because all she's ever been told by mom and dad
That's
is,
good.
you're the best ever.
That's right.
You're great. Well, maybe not. And it's okay to be told no. How
Correct.
do you handle no?
Correct.
And that's what we're going to see 5, 10, 15 years down the road. We're going to see a couple different things. What's the financial situation going to look like for the guy who was making more money in college as a college player than he's ever going to make in the real world, assuming
Right.
that he's not playing professional sports? And the other part is, who's managing their money when they're in college? Because they're
Correct.
1099 contractors.
That's right.
Are they paying their
Paying
taxes?
taxes. That's it.
Like, this is all stuff that's
That's
going to
right.
come to, hopefully they're being guided, because this is all stuff that's going to come to fruition. And we're going to see where are we at with both scenarios.
Wow, Mike, this is some heavy stuff. This is episode 145, the very own Mike Silvestri. He's a recruit. He's a college coordinator. He has coached. He's done it all, and he's still doing it today. Episode 145, guys. Hey, Mike, before I go to another quick sponsor, I got a question for you. Based on what you just said, what you know about South Florida, you're in Arizona right now. How quickly can coaches tell when a player loves baseball versus he just loves the lifestyle of being around baseball? Can you tell that?
That's a great question. I think that's an individual thing. I will tell you this. We did a podcast with Marymount University's head coach. I love that program. D3 program in Arlington, Virginia. Like, you can't ask for a better setup. Like, internships. They have all these pro sports teams around them, the Pentagon, the White House. I mean, you're all in that whole area. So we love when they're interested in one of our guys that fits the D3 profile academically, athletically, because it's a really good level of baseball. And I asked him one question, because it kind of fits into what you just asked me. I said, give me one non-negotiable for you. And he didn't even hesitate. And he said, going on Twitter and seeing a kid get a base hit, single to the outfield, and Cadillacing it to first base.
Oh yeah.
He's like, out. And I said, okay, why? I know why, but tell the public
Right.
why. He's like, because we can find 10 other people who are going to take that seriously and assume maybe there's a bobble in the outfield and I can take an extra base, but I'm going to give it 100%. So, um, yeah, you can tell. Sometimes it takes you to get on campus as a coach to tell. The really good ones, the really good evaluators, they're going to do their digging and get the information to find out, um, is he a rat? Does he love to play? Is he going to go to Arkansas and bet on himself and, out of South Florida? Those guys are rats. Those guys are different.
I just want to say that because I've got a friend of mine that that coaches at LSU, the very own LSU baseball program, which
Mm-hmm.
everybody knows LSU. I got a friend of mine who was on my podcast several episodes ago. It's been at least 40, 50 episodes ago when they were in the fall. And he said something to me. He said, when you come to LSU, it's another level. It's even higher than the SEC. The way they train them and the way they develop them. That's why they have such a foundation and a legacy because it's been established from the beginning. And I'm saying that to say this. I've been watching LSU pretty closely because of my buddy that coaches there,
Mm-hmm.
and they're struggling, like really bad. They're
Yeah.
struggling.
Yeah.
They're not doing as good as they normally do. And I heard one of the coaches say that he kind of called out his players. Some of these guys aren't LSU players, based on what I just said. They're not LSU players. They're there,
I saw
but
the
they're.
press conference. Yeah, yeah.
And so I said that to say this because I already had an interview with my buddy. He told me about the pedigree, what the expectation is. They let you know they don't care. They're straight. It's like Coach Carter. This is what's going to happen. This is what we do. And if you don't like it, get out of here. That's basically. I'm just paraphrasing it. And so I'm looking at the program this year, and they're like, wow, they've really dropped off. So basically, what I'm saying is a lot of guys probably won't be there next year, for sure. They won't be there. And I said that to say this because going back what you talked about, I personally think what you said about having a mental coach. I mean, I really just started thinking about this a couple days ago when you just brought up again. It had to be God because I didn't tell you about this, and I started thinking about these kids. I'm like, you got talent, but there's 20 other guys like you. What makes you different? I said, but first of all, you can't take a rebuke. You don't like me rebuking you. You don't want me telling you anything. You showboating, you hot dogging. You don't run down first base when I'm telling you to run down first base. Just because you hit a home run. I'm saying this, Michael, because I want the audience to hear this. Because they think, I've seen it, I watch college baseball all the time and pro baseball, and I've noticed something. We got teams that are losing, Mike, losing. And it's like the fifth inning. They're losing by 3, 4, 5 runs. They hit a home run and they're doing all this celebrating, Mike. I like it's one run. I mean, like you said, what are
Still
we?
losing. Yeah.
But you're still losing. You hit one, and you're still losing. So I started thinking about the way me and you were brought up, the way our parents taught us, the way we respect. That's called respecting the game. Respect the game. Respect the game. And it's just the respect level has dropped quite a bit. They don't respect themselves. It's all about me, 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 me. Can you elaborate on that before I go to a sponsor break?
Sure. It's the social media era, right? It's hit the home run. We're down by 10, and I'm going to throw my bat in the air and take a 32-second trip around the bases.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pounding my chest as I cross home plate and do the jump up and jump
Yeah.
down, and
Like, what do we?
what are we doing?
What are we doing?
But look, and as far as that kind of stuff goes, these guys like the LSU coach hit the nail on the head. He's like, you're going to get paid. There's accountability to get paid because those guys are getting paid. That roster's a pretty expensive roster, right? So when you watch TV and the college kicker, it's a tight situation and he pushes one right and
Right.
feel bad for that young man. I don't, not anymore, because he's getting paid. So you're now, when you want to take big boy paychecks and big boy money, comes big boy
responsibilities.
responsibilities and big boy expectations.
Expectations.
When you were getting paid in hot dogs and a scholarship, that's a little different than getting paid $200,000 to put a ball between the goalposts. So from my point of view, and I know a lot of college coaches feel the same way, talking to them and bringing that kind of scenario up is I don't feel bad. Like you walked in the winning run. Well, you were getting paid to throw strikes.
Right.
You're a
Right.
professional. That's your paid player. So, yeah, but that's the self gratification of the social media era we're in, and then again maybe doing things for the wrong reasons, doing it for the money. When you do it, it's no different than a doctor becoming a doctor for the money, right?
That's right.
The really good ones become a doctor because they want to help people, and then because they're good, they're going to do very well financially. They don't get in it for the finances first.
That's right.
It's the same thing.
Hey. Episode 145. This is great. You know, this sponsor is brought to you by the Wow Factor Baseball Program, which helps produce 30 MLB draft picks, 1,500 college commits, 7 national titles. If you're serious about playing high-level baseball in the summer and getting real exposure, DM me, Coach Laurie at YouGoin'Pro Sports. Again, if you really want to play travel baseball at the Wow Factor, DM me at YouGoin'Pro Sports on Instagram. Hey, you hit it perfectly, Mike. I appreciate that. What is the biggest disconnection between the parents thinking recruiting is and what it actually is, would you say?
I think first when the NIL stuff came out, to hear parents talking about how little Johnny's going to get, everyone's going to get money. And it doesn't work that way. How when the 34 scholarship roster limitation right in baseball came out, 34 fulls, and then explaining to parents, do you understand the percentage of schools that are actually offering, that have the financial resources to offer 34 full scholarships? It's minuscule compared to the 300 plus Division I institutions out there. Most are still operating in the 10 to 15 range, and that may be in-state money, not out-of-state money, even at the D1 level. Your elite conferences, your SECs, those are the outliers, right? So explaining to parents, hey, Division II baseball's got 9 scholarships. So that's where we need academic to pick up. We need that 1,200 in front of the SAT to kick in some academic money to complement the baseball money, to maybe complement the financial aid money, and then your son can go to school for next to nothing, or whatever money you have saved up you're not spending now you can use for grad school or their wedding, whatever you choose to do at that point. I think that's two of the biggest misnomers, were the initial part of everyone thinking that everybody's going to get paid in NIL money, and then the other part is everyone's going to get a full scholarship, and both couldn't be further from the truth.
Okay, I appreciate that. I know I got a few more questions before we close out. What separates athletes who survive college baseball from the athletes who dominate it? Because some of them survive, just coast through, and some of them dominate. So what's the separator between those two?
To me, it's the process.
Okay.
Right? Michael Jordan talked about, he loved the process of being the best. LeBron James, in his earlier days, right?
Right.
He's the MVP like 3 times in a row, but feels like he's not the best outside shooter he can be. So he spends the entire offseason working on his jump shot outside of 15 feet. He's already the best player in the world. So those types of guys enjoy the process. That's what makes them great. That just didn't happen overnight. And I think in the baseball, like we ask kids all the time, all right, summer baseball is going to start, right? Memorial Day starts and the summer tournaments start. What are you going to do with your downtime in the hotel? Are you going to, you can play, be a kid, right? You have to be a kid. Go play video games for an hour with your teammates. But your hotel's got a fitness center. I don't care if you're doing push-ups and sit-ups. Do something. Because when you go watch Florida play or LSU play, those guys are pretty physical. So the guys who really want it are the guys that are doing the extra stuff. And a lot of it is strength and conditioning stuff. So yeah, I'm a big believer. You got to be a kid. It's a game. It should be fun. You should play video games with your friends. You should goof around with your friends. Go swimming. Yes, have a balance. But what's 45 minutes out of your day?
Right.
30 minutes out of your day
Right.
to go to the fitness center. Or I had a player that would go, when they were on the road, he'd find a hill if they were in a mountainous area, and he'd put a backpack on with a couple weights in there and run the hill. Well, guess what? He's in a Big 12 program right now. I think he's a future big leaguer. So because he enjoyed the process of trying to become the best version of himself. And I think that's the difference of the ones who survive and the difference of the ones who excel.
Wow. Basically, the question is, how hungry are you? Are you hungry? Because a lot of guys aren't hungry. They're not hungry, Mike. That's old school stuff we talked about. How hungry are you? Are you hungry? Okay, let me see. Show me you hungry. Because that's you can show me better, you can tell me. That goes to the next question. Like, what habits shows college coaches that this player is a true pro material? What have you seen that before?
Yeah, I think in today's game, is what are you doing physically? Like,
Mm.
I don't know that you really need to play in the turkey trot tournament and the Santa Claus tournament, but I do know you need to be in the weight room, right? And we
I'm sorry. Go
look,
ahead, Mike.
even when we talk to we're starting to talk to like seventh and eighth grade parents just to educate them, right,
Oh
at
my
different
gosh.
training facilities, and that's one of the things I was talking about. You don't need to play in the turkey trot tournament. Who cares? Start doing something physically. Start learning, like, I don't care if it's again, push-ups and sit-ups, body weight stuff, to get yourself ready physically. So, when you're presenting a player to a college coach,
Oh,
the college coach needs to know at the
right.
Division 1 level, is he physically ready to
That's it.
withstand this?
That's it.
Because it's a different game from the high school game. You're playing more games. Your practice time is more. Even though there's a certain practice restriction on the hours, believe me, there's a lot of unsupervised things that go on that you have to participate in that are
That's right.
unwritten.
That's
That's
right.
all part of the gig. So can the body physically withstand that? It's what we, as pro scouts, one of the questions is this player ready to handle the rigors of a minor league season? 142 games. Are you ready for that? In the heat in Arizona, it's going to be 110 when I go to the game tonight at 6 p.m. 110. It's a dry heat, but so's an oven, right? Can you handle that? Are you
That's it.
physically ready to handle that?
Oh my gosh.
So I think that the first thing a college coach is going to always look for is, is this guy physically ready, or does he need 2 years of junior college to develop physically while he's developing his skill set? That's where JUCO
Mhm.
comes into play a lot, right? Go play junior college if you're good enough, because JUCO is going to continue to get harder. My last JUCO team in 2001, we had 16 drafted players on that team. 16. A couple big leaguers, but 16 drafted players. I'm not saying junior college is ever going to get to that point again, because the draft rules were different. There was a control thing that you
Right.
could do back then, but it's going to continue on the arrow up to be more competitive, without question. So, you know, physically, that's to answer that question. Yes, there's a physicality concern that shows a college coach, that he's putting the work in. The players, it's softball, baseball, whatever, is putting that work in outside of their baseball stuff.
Mm.
What it's 45 minutes in the day, 4
Right.
days a week or so. It's
Appreciate
nothing.
that.
You can
Yes,
still
sir.
be a kid, and you should be a kid. That's
Mm.
okay too.
Mike Severstein, I appreciate this episode 145. We got the last couple of questions before we close out. I want to say thank you again.
Okay.
We got a couple more questions to
Yep.
close this out. And I want to ask you if you could challenge every person that's listening, athlete, boy, girl, softball player, baseball player, athlete that's listening, what would one truth about recruiting and development would you tell them?
Put yourself in a situation to be the best version of who you are. That simple. Whatever that is, Division 1 player, Division 2 player, Division 3 player, NAI player, JUCO player, put yourself into the best to become the best version of who you're supposed to become. The rest will take care of itself.
Mm. Okay. All right. Well, you answered that one really pretty quick, so I got to give you this other one. That was really quick. I
Okay.
like that answer. Okay, you've seen college players, high school players, JUCO players, professional players. My question to you is this: how can you tell the difference between a D1 college player versus this kid is going to be a professional baseball player? Because I want you to educate the listeners, because there's a difference. What is the
Absolutely.
difference? What is the
Well,
difference?
first and foremost, it's just tools. What are your tools? Meaning, in a position player, it's the hit tool, power tool, run tool, throw tool, field tool, right? Pitchers, it's fastball, velocity, command, your breaking ball, all those types of things. At the end of the day, tools are going to play at the big league level. And then everybody's got tools at that level.
Yeah.
And then it comes down to, what's the separator? Usually a lot of times it's makeup and work ethic. Why did certain players not become Hall of Fame type players? A lot of times they just become complacent. The money's really good. And, as long as they show up and put up decent numbers, they're going to do okay. But I think, you look at college baseball today, Whether it's a better game or not than it was 20 years ago, that's an argument that you can make on both sides. It's certainly a more physical game than it was
Yes.
20 years ago. The bodies have changed. I'm not
Yes.
saying the players are better
Yes.
by any stretch. I will say this, the way the draft is set up, you're seeing more, it's going to continue to push more and more players to college baseball. So the level of play is going to continue to probably increase, right? Because there's just not as many job openings at the
Yeah.
minor league level that there once was, because there's a reduction in rookie ball league and short season league. But yeah, I don't really think it's that hard when you're for what we do. When you're sitting at a game, you're like, that guy's got a chance to play in the big leagues. I think that guy's ceiling is, he gets to A ball or double A, or that guy's not going to
Yeah.
even get a chance to play. And it really
Okay.
comes down to tools, physicality, that type of thing.
Okay. And mentality, correct?
Yeah, because
Mentality.
once you get there, then
Right.
it's everyone's really good.
Right.
And what's the separator? Then it's the mental side's the separator.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Because a lot of
mental
people don't
toughness
talk
and the
about
work
stuff.
ethic.
They don't talk about that a lot. We're gonna talk about this because that's look. I'm going back to what we talked about earlier. It was pretty good because now you got me stuck on this. I'm like stuck on it. This is the last question, Mike. I want to say again, thank you for the
Absolutely, my
listeners
pleasure.
today.
Thank you for having me.
Man, this has been great, man. You're like Google overload times two, times two. It's been great. I mean, I've enjoyed everything you said. A lot of stuff I already knew, but a lot of stuff you've educated me on, and also the listener. I'm quite sure I'm gonna get a lot of responses, and you will be hearing back from me. But
Good.
with that being said, the final question for you is this, and also a closing remarks with the question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
With today's baseball world, we're talking about high school, college, pro. What does it mean to you? Because you've been through it all.
Mhm.
What does it mean to be a true pro? If you had to give the listeners and close out with that, if you don't
I
mind.
think to be a true pro is to kind of goes back to how I answered the previous question, is to be the best version of who you're supposed to become, whatever that means.
Okay.
I had a great line from a minor league legendary scout, still scouting to this day, legendary scout, minor league manager, and I had signed a player at a Curacao. We played in Palm Beach County High School. There was a Palm Beach County High School back in the day that would bring Aruba, Curacao kids over, and they still do to this day. And I signed this player. This player is now minor league coordinator with a major league team. Never got to the big leagues. He wore down physically, but he had a good career. And when he got to play short season ball, which doesn't even exist anymore in the Pioneer League for this legendary manager, he called me and he's like, "Hey man, great job on this guy. He's going to be whatever he's supposed to be."
Mm.
And I'm like, "Elaborate, please. You've been in this game. You forgot more baseball than I've ever known." He's just, winningest manager in minor league history. Most big leaguers in the modern day history signed because he did both. Just phenomenal and a great human being. And he said, "What I mean by that, Mike, is if he's supposed to play in the big leagues 10 years, he will. If he's supposed to get to the big leagues, he will. If he's supposed to be just a minor league player that gets to AA or AAA, he will. His work ethic and the way he goes about his business and his love for this game and the work ethic and the mental toughness will allow him to become whatever he's supposed to become outside of an injury." And I thought that was the biggest compliment you could give a player. Right? That's a pro. He's to this day, I see him in Arizona. He's a pro. He never got to the big leagues,
Right.
but and his career was cut short because he was a smaller frame guy that needed the run tool. And once he literally ripped his hamstring off his bone,
It's over.
the run tool became average. And for
Right.
him, it needed to be above average because he wasn't a guy who's going to ball over the fence. But that to me is a pro. I don't care if you're playing at Florida Atlantic, LSU, or the Miami Marlins.
That's it.
If you are the best version of who you're supposed to be, that's a pro.
I like it. I appreciate that. Hey, thanks a lot, Mike Severstein.
Yes, sir.
I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you have done you've got 3 A's. 3 A pluses. This has been great, man. This has been really good, very informative, very direct.
Appreciate you having me. Thank you.
And it's real life situations. These are real life questions and real life answers. I appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. I don't take nothing for granted. It's been a blessing. We'll talk some more,
Thank you,
but
Coach. Yes, sir.
you're welcome. And listen, everybody. Anybody can enter the portal. Anybody can chase NIL money. But not everybody is willing to become a true professional, because over here, we don't just build players. We build pros. So if you want to be a pro, keep listening to YouGoin'Pro or go home. This is Coach Laurie. I'm
Sure.
out. Have a great time. See you later. Thanks a lot.
Bye,
Bye bye.
everyone. Thank you. Coach, we good?